To sue America for reparations. We said, that is correct. They said, well, black people in America that went through 400 years of slavery, that built the United States of America. He said, well, we don't have you down as an NGO, non-government organization, and or as a government. So we have to find out, mind you, this is the United Nations song. We have to find out were you 40 million in America, 250 million throughout the slavery diaspora. We have to find where you fit. So don't get discouraged. Give us a minute and we'll come up with something. When they came back, the scholar said that this is a term that is germane and unique to your identity. You have to undergo what is called ethnogenesis, which is the rebirth of a nation. Your human rights, the thing that makes up your human rights, is your mother tongue. Not your flesh and blood mother tongue, but your ancestral mother tongue. Whatever language that you spoke when you were ripped out of Africa. Africa is a continent made of 55 different countries. All of us didn't speak the same language. But whatever language that you spoke, anyone that took that language from you at that point in time was violating, taking your human rights, your ancestral culture, whatever that culture is. Whether it was jumping over a broom to get married, whether it was going down to the river to get married, whatever it was, no one has a right to take that culture from you. If and when they do, they have violated your human rights. Also, and lastly, your ancestral religion. No one has a right to take away your religion. If they do, they have violated your human rights. Blacks in America and throughout the slavery diaspora have been dispossessed of all three. Right? They took a look at us, our situation, and they said, your culture, your language, your religion has been totally deracinated. Now, these are UN scholarly terms. But as the Honorable Silas Muhammad pointed out to us, just by the sound of that, you know it's not anything that's good, right? Being on the path of reparations, as brother pointed out before me, there were those who wanted to wrestle with the numbers and say that the numbers didn't quite add up. So they want to make it seem as if, well, it took place, but it wasn't that bad. And even if it did happen, it did happen to you. Hey, I'm a white person and I have black friends. And I wouldn't put anyone in slavery. You've heard it before. If you have to stick around, you will. These are called ideological constructs, where you turn and put the question, pose the question to the victim and say to the victim, are you really a victim? You came to his room at 12 o'clock at night. You knew what he wanted. No, I mean, you didn't throw yourself at it. You ain't take your clothes off, but you wore that short skirt and you knew what was going to happen when you went to his room. Ideological construct, making the victim feel as if they're the cause of the problem. And the United States of America, along with Great Britain and the Jews, has done an excellent job of creating ideological constructs. First off, you have to understand, slavery was a business, point blank period. Anywhere from 20,000 to 50,000 slave ships. 20,000 to 50,000 slave ships. That's how we were transported from Africa to the United States of America. There's detailed records and or information that we won't have time to go into today that will let you know, and as much as it was a business, they kept extremely good records. How many you brought? How many were in good condition? How many were ill or sick? Just like cattle. If I'm selling you chickens, you want to know, well, how many do you have? And you're going to write that down. Well, how many? Well, this is not going to make it. Those kind of records were kept as it relates to us. It says 6 million were lost. Jews were lost in the Holocaust. During the Middle Passage, you lost easily 6 million. The United States of America says, okay, well, since it won't go away, and we've gotten to the point to where they realize that they're not supposed to be in the United States of America, that they did not originate from the United States of America, and they can read and comprehend, which is a giant step for blacks in America. The professor here can attest, they give tests for reading comprehension. And it simply means, do you understand what you read? Correct? Now that they know that you can read and comprehend, now the issue is, okay, well, who's going to pay for it? Another one of the ideological constructs is, well, we don't have money to pay for slavery anyway. And I've heard, and shame on them, some black leaders say, well, the government is not in a position to where they can pay us reparations, and they're broke anyway. Listen to this and listen to this carefully. Reparations is a demand. It is a lawsuit from one nation to another nation. You are to take on the attitude of a bill collector. If ComEd sends you a bill, there isn't an inquiry inside that bill that says, by the way, did you get paid last week? Or where can you come up with the money from the pay bill? Because if you don't have it, we're not going to cut the lights on. If you don't respond to that one, they send you another bill that's a little more color. It's rated. And it says final notice prior to disconnection, right? They don't want to know about your religion. They don't want to know how good of a person you are, how many children you have, the age of the people standing the rest. They want their money. Their bill collectors, right? It's the same with those of us who own a car. Okay, but if you didn't make your car payment, they got to get in contact with you and say you didn't make your payment. Well, I have 3 children, and one of my children are disabled, and I stay with an elderly person. I get her back and forth to dialysis. That's not my problem. If you don't pay for the car, we're going to repossess the car. You may say that's cold. That's the attitude of a bill collector. Take on that attitude when it comes to reparations. You're bill collectors. Don't ask where the government is going to get the money from. That's not your problem. It's not your concern. Slavery for them was a business. A Hispanic sister said to me, well, slavery took place so long ago, and the people that did this then, I don't think that blacks should sit around and wait to try and get a handout. Well, again, slavery is not food stamps. All right? Slavery is not a medical card. Those are what some people quote unquote will call handouts. And just FYI, for your information, if you were the only ones who were receiving food stamps and Social Security cards, the program will not exist. You make up 12% of the population, approximately 40 million. There's 250 million Caucasians. They outnumber you 5 to 1. More of them have link cards than you, just know that. We'll have some enemies before it's over, right? We'll make friends after the fact. We'll make friends after the fact when we go on the other side, and we're looking at our children prosper and operating at the pinnacle of who they are. The other thing that I want to point out to you is there were states who actually did go ahead and apologize for slavery. But now to apologize for slavery, it's not enough. A true apology is going to encompass, first off, you're going to have regret. Then there's going to be a resolution. Well, what can we do? First off, I'm sorry that I did it. I know it was wrong. Then we're going to have a resolution. How can we come about fixing the problem? And if there was damage done, then that's where the restitution comes in. So if someone tells you that they apologize and you've been done a harm and it doesn't encompass the 3 R's, then it's not a true apology. I want you to know that as well. All right? And as much as slavery was, in my heart, is a business. It has just changed. The terms have changed. They know how to use euphemistic terms now. They put you in a situation to where I didn't tell you that you can't shop at Whole Foods, but based on what I'm paying you, I know you can't shop at Whole Foods. You understand? So now it's not directly like, okay, well, here you stop. But it's for what I'm paying you, what you're going to need anyhow. Right? There shouldn't be a difference in the good food or the bad food or the good milk and the bad. It should all be good. All right? You're not dealing with a people who's not aware of your situation. You're dealing with a people who day by day creates and become more creative on creating your situation. At the root cause of the 17-year-old sister that got shot yesterday after a game is an identity crisis. What else would make a person turn a gun on their own selves? You couldn't get a gun when you were first brought over here and made a slave because you would have used it on them. But now it's easy for you to put your hands on an automatic weapon. I stay on the west side of Chicago, borderline in Oak Park. It's the difference between day and night. Remember now, one of the cardinal principles of making you a slave was you must trust, love, and fear them and only them. That's the state of mind and the youth today. So slavery, mind you, was not about putting you in chains. Maybe the first 1 or 2 generations that came over who had the spirit in them to run, they had them in chains. But just through osmosis,